Hey everyone, it's Lucy from KBeautyHobbit.com. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you're not new, you already know that I do quite a bit of nail tutorials. Today is no exception. Well, it's kind of an exception because today we're doing toes. So feet gross you out or you just don't want to look at somebody's feet, maybe skip this one, but I do have a whole nails playlist with lots of manicure tutorials if that's more your jam. I picked these up. This was not PR. This is not sponsored. I bought this with my own money. This is Dashing Diva Glaze, the semi-cured nails. These are specifically made for pedicures. We're going to try them out together today. I have never used these. I've tried the Dashing Diva Glaze on my hands. I have a tutorial for that. I've done their gloss on my hands and feet. I have a tutorial for that. I've done their glow on hands recently. Have a tutorial for that. This, by the way, is the Mystic Days color. They come packaged like this to prevent sunlight getting in the packaging, because sunlight and UV light, like the lamps, can cure these and harden them all the way, and then they will not be usable anymore. Oh, these are pretty. They have 3D gems on these big ones, and then we have these shiny little ones in the pack. And like I said, these are semi-cured, so we're going to have a lamp of some sort to finish curing them. Dashing Diva sells one, or sometimes you can get one free with your order, but those are really small. They're okay if you're new to nail strips and just want to see how they go for you, but I like a bigger lamp. That's what I'll be using. I've had one for a while. It looks like this. I use this in most of my videos. Bear with me as the camera angle is not ideal. It's very difficult to shoot a pedicure tutorial, which is why I've only done one so far. And the last time I did it, I used my cell phone, and this time I have a camera. Anyway, just like with a manicure, prep is key. I am using a metal cuticle pusher. I'll put links for everything in the description box, just to get cuticle pushed down. I don't want anything there getting in the way. And then pro tip, if you have a little kind of fleshy side to your toes like I do, get in there, get under there. This is not the most attractive things. My feet are clean. I showered right before this, but you want to kind of scrape there without going too hard. You don't want to damage anything, but you want to get any of that skin off, because if you put a sticker on skin, it's not going to stick very well. Do your best, push back your cuticle. I know some people cut their cuticles off. I don't do that because I'm not trained in doing that. I am very likely to cut something that I'm not supposed to cut and cause irritation, so I don't do that, but you do whatever you want. I know some people like to use gel or like a little brush on cuticle removers, and that's, I think, is fine as well. It's just whatever you prefer. I did that on both feet. Push back the cuticles. If your toenails are really long, you can definitely trim them, but I am going to trim them when I trim the stickers to make sure that they're exactly the same length, and my toenails are really short anyway. This prep pad is actually pretty nice. A lot of the times the included ones are kind of on the dry side, so I often find myself using the alcohol pads, like alcohol prep pads from the pharmacy, but this one is not bad. You basically just want to make sure that you remove all the oil and any sort of little pieces of that cuticle that we pushed back, like anything that is on your nail that is not the nail itself, you want to remove. This here is a bruise from me dropping my phone on my foot not once but twice, and then I'm pretty sure a kid stepped on it, so there's that. My manicure, by the way, is from Lid Gels. I just did a sponsored tutorial for them. If you scroll back a little bit in my nails playlist, you will find that if you're interested in that. Okay, now I'm going to pick a size that is the closest to my big toe size. They are fairly size inclusive. Look at this. I mean, I have really small toenails and pretty small fingernails. I think I need this smallest one, and that might even be on the wider side. I do sometimes find myself trimming a tiny bit on the edge here to make sure that it fits. You definitely want slightly too small versus slightly too big if you have to pick between those two. Because my big toe is not exactly an up and down rectangle, it is more narrow on the bottom than it is at the top. This side is pretty straight and this side is not. I know that from painting my toes for so long. I am going to go ahead and just gently, very, very slightly trim that inner side just a little bit, just so it fits better. There we go. I would say that having gems here complicates that task. If I had to take off much more than that, I probably could not because the gems would get in the way. Now I will peel this off without touching the part that's going on my toenail. These are longer than my toenails, so I can definitely grab at it at the top and not risk anything touching the part that's actually going to go on the toe. And then I'm going to line it up with my cuticle as close as I can without going over. And this is a pretty big, wide strip, so I'm really glad that I trimmed it down. Now I'm just going to smush it down. The gems do make that more complicated, but I chose to get the gem design because this is not something that I can accomplish with nail polish. Typically, I do nail strips on my hands because I can't really do nail art like that, or I don't want to spend the time learning how to do nail art like that. But on my toes, I typically just do polish, not even gel polish, just regular polish. ILNP has been my favorite lately. But this time I thought, okay, I'll try these glaze strips, just get something a little bit more interesting. And yeah, I picked the ones that I could not replicate with polish very easily. I am using a rubber cuticle pusher to really get in around the gems and push everything down because I want this to be super flush with my nail because I don't want any water or lotion or dirt when I go water my garden. I don't want anything to get in between that sticker and my actual nail. Now we need to trim that excess. This is where you could potentially also trim your length of the toenail a little bit if they're longer than you prefer. Just a reminder to try and cut your nails straight. Don't cut off the corners because you can cause ingrown toenails. Nobody likes that. And then if you're more used to using clippers, you can definitely do that. I use nail scissors just because I am used to that. This looks pretty cool. I like how it sparkles. It's definitely reflecting my light really pretty. You might hear a little bit of a deep freeze sound in the background. You might hear my kids' toys from upstairs. That's because I'm not filming in any sort of studio. I am filming in a house I actually live in. So now we're going to look at these smaller sizes and kind of see which ones fit the rest of my toenails. Again, we want to go kind of close to the size, but if you have to pick between slightly too small and slightly too large, you will want to go with a slightly too small option because that just prevents them from peeling off. I think this one here fits this toenail the best. That is my widest toenail. I know that from doing stickers on my toes before. I used to sell Jamberry for a long time, and I've done some Jamberry pedicures also, so I'm a little bit more familiar probably with the shape of my toes than people who don't spend a lot of time trying to fit stickers to them. Unlike the mani sets, this one has just one film over all of them, one protective film over all of them, instead of an individual film on each one. I guess that makes sense since these are so much smaller. It would probably be not the best idea to put little films on top of them. I hope that does not affect their storage longevity, but we'll see. Okay, so same as before, I am going to line it up as close as I can. I'm going to just go with this shape as is, I think, instead of trying to cut it down or make it match my toenail more closely, because I think this is fine. My toenails are very trapeze in shape, so more narrow on the bottom, wider on top, but stickers don't have to match perfectly as long as they're somewhat matching. I don't think anybody will be able to tell, especially since, well, I suppose I don't know all of you, but nobody's looking at my toenails super closely in my daily life. Because of how long this sticker is, I think I could use it on my other foot also. on that toe, but on the other foot. So let's see that, if that works. This is the matching toenail on the other foot. Yep, that works. So if you're frugal and want to get as many pedicures out of this pack as you can, consider maybe doing that if you have sort of wide but short toenails like I do. And then we're just going to trim it off the same way as the other one. And it does not have to be perfect at this point, because at a future step we're also going to file them a little bit. So don't worry if your edge here is not totally perfect. That is completely okay. As I'm doing these, I figured out that it's much easier to cut these longer strips into before I peel them off, so that I don't touch any of the part that's going onto the actual nail with my fingers. And I also figured out that it's much easier to trim them before I peel them up. So I did this toe, this one, on the other foot, and now I'm going to do it on this one. So all I did was just eyeball kind of the spot where I'm going to trim the sticker. And this is why I prefer scissors to clippers, but of course you can use clippers to shorten the stickers once they're on, and then use scissors to shape them, but it looks something like this. Yes, my toes are kind of funky shaped. That's okay. But now I can just peel it off. And if really your toes are really small, you could use tweezers to peel that off if there's really no spot for you to grab onto very well once you've trimmed them. Now I'm just going to push it down. And again, I'm using this rubber cuticle pusher just to avoid any bubbles, any kind of pockets in there between the nail and the sticker. Just going to do that. These are very pretty, and I don't know how well the camera picks it up, but we're going to do a little thing at the end where I'll take my flashlight from my phone and shine it on them, and we'll look at how pretty these really are. I finished the rest of them. Something to keep in mind, if you have a design with gems like this where the gems are kind of close to each other but not totally the same unit, definitely take your rubber cuticle pusher or an orange stick. I prefer a pusher because the nails are still soft and you don't want to poke at them with anything too hard because you'll dent them. But I took this and really ran it through between these to make sure that there's not an air pocket in between the gems, because obviously pushing down with my finger, there's no way I could get in there. So now, because these are semi-cured, we still have to finish curing them all the way. That's where I use my lamp. And the instructions usually say like 1 to 2 rounds with the lamp. That's kind of subjective because it depends on your lamp. On my lamp, I know that I need 2 rounds of 1 minute each for Dashing Diva Glaze to be cured all the way, and that tends to work really well. This is them fully cured. They feel nice and hard now to the touch. Typically with my hands, I would use something like a clear top coat, a gel top coat, to seal in the tips and stuff. I don't really feel the need to do that with a pedicure. So all I'm going to do now to finish this off is file it a little bit to make sure that the edges are nice and smooth. Dashing Diva file is actually not bad, so I'm going to try and use that. Well, okay, it's not bad as far as the grit, but it's super flimsy. It's really flexible. So never mind on that. I'm going to use my own. This is pretty coarse grit file, so I'm just going to run over the top a little bit and just kind of clean up any little spots that don't seem smooth. I try to do a good job trimming these kind of in a straight fashion, but that didn't work out really well on some of these. If you're clipping, you might have to do a little bit more filing versus manicure scissors, but either way, the finished results should be pretty good. Here's the finished product after the filing. I really don't think these need a top coat of any sort. I'm curious to see how the little gems hold up. They feel like they're nice and secure, so hopefully they last just fine without me having to top coat them. As promised, this is what they look like when I shine a flashlight over them, and they're super sparkly and really pretty. I bet they look really good in natural light, especially in a bright sunshine. So there's that. One last note. If you do these or any sort of toe stickers, you will usually see advertisement that says lasts up to 2 weeks. And you might notice that even after 2 weeks, they still look good. but I encourage you to take these off after 2 weeks because I made a mistake of leaving a different brand, well actually same brand but a different kind, the Dashing Diva Glaze pedicure stickers on for way longer than 2 weeks because they looked completely fine. And when I took them off, the toenails underneath were sort of white looking and kind of moist, and it was really gross, and I thought I destroyed my toenails because I think a little bit of lifting was happening that I didn't see, enough for moisture to get trapped under there, and thankfully everything kind of dried up and grew out fine. I didn't have any lasting problems, but that's just something to keep in mind if you're going to be using these, that just because they look good 2 weeks after, please still remove them and follow the instructions from the manufacturer. If you are wondering how to remove these, I have a nail removal video that will absolutely work for toenails as well. That's all in my nails playlist. Again, I'll put links to everything in the description box. If you have any questions, please leave me a comment. You can find me on Instagram at KBeautyHobbit, my blog, KBeautyHobbit.com, and in my private Facebook group, Korean Beauty Fanatics. I hope to see you in my next video, and until then, please remember to always listen to your skin. Thank you so much. Bye.